The average termite treatment in the United States costs between $500 and $2,000 for a single home. And in most cases, the pest control company comes back every year to reapply because the chemical barrier they installed degrades, washes out, and stops working on a schedule that was engineered to keep you paying. The $16 billion pest control industry runs on one business principle: impermanent solutions to permanent problems. Here is what they don't want you to walk past at your local farm supply store: a $4 bag of powder that exploits the specific biology of termites and carpenter ants to destroy the entire colony, not just the ones you can see, from the inside out. No chemicals, no annual contract, no technician in a hazmat suit. But before I show you the protocol, you need to understand how we got tricked in the first place, because this isn't a coincidence. This is design. Here's what the pest control industry figured out in the 1950s that it has never stopped profiting from. Termites and carpenter ants live inside walls. You can't see them, you can't track them, and that invisibility is the entire product. When you can't see the problem, you can't measure the solution. So the industry trained homeowners to equate professional chemical treatment with safety and to distrust anything they could buy themselves. They built a vocabulary around it. Barrier treatments, bait matrix systems, liquid termiticide injection, colony elimination protocols, words designed to sound like aerospace engineering instead of what they actually are, which is a guy with a pump sprayer applying a synthetic pyrethroid around your foundation. The marketing worked. Study after study from university extension programs shows that the majority of homeowners believe termite and ant infestations require professional chemical intervention. Most have never heard of the alternative. They believe that because they were taught to believe it by an industry with a $16 billion annual reason to keep teaching it. That's not entomology. That's conditioning. Here's the actual science. Termites and carpenter ants are social insects. They live in colonies, they groom each other constantly. They share food through a process called trophallaxis, mouth-to-mouth feeding between workers and the colony. That biology is the exploit. You don't need to poison every insect individually. You need to introduce something into the colony's grooming and feeding network that spreads itself. And two raw materials do exactly that through completely different mechanisms for a combined cost of under $10. The first material is food-grade diatomaceous earth. The brand to look for is Harris Food-Grade Diatomaceous Earth. A 4-pound bag runs $4 to $8 at Walmart, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, or on Amazon. You can also find it at any farm supply store under several brand names. The label will say food grade. That matters. Buy that one specifically. Here is what it does. At the microscopic level, each particle of diatomaceous earth is a fossilized fragment of silica shell, ground into jagged, razor-sharp glass. To your hand, it feels like talcum powder. To an insect, crossing a treated surface is like walking across a field of broken glass. Those particles slice through the waxy protective layer of the exoskeleton. Termites and ants need that waxy cuticle to retain moisture. Without it, they dehydrate and die within 24 to 72 hours. And because the mechanism is purely physical, microscopic abrasion, insects cannot develop resistance to it. You cannot evolve around a razor blade. The physics don't negotiate. The second material is boric acid, sold as boric acid roach powder or plain boric acid at Walmart, Home Depot, and most grocery store pest aisles. A 1-pound container runs $3 to $5. This is where the colony kill happens. Boric acid is a naturally occurring mineral compound. When an ant or termite walks through it, the fine particles cling to their legs, antennae, and body. Then the grooming behavior activates. Social insects groom each other constantly. They ingest the boric acid particles during that grooming. And during trophallaxis, the mouth-to-mouth feeding that is the circulatory system of any ant or termite colony, they pass it to every worker, every soldier, and eventually the queen. Boric acid disrupts the insect's ability to metabolize food at the cellular level. It shuts down the digestive system and the nervous system simultaneously. A single treated forager returns to the colony and begins a chain reaction it cannot stop. The colony doesn't know it's being poisoned. That's the mechanism. That's why it works on the entire colony, and not just the surface insects you can see. 2 materials, total cost under $10. One works by physical destruction, one works by biological infiltration. Together, they cover every angle. Here is the exact protocol. The sequence matters. For termites, start by identifying the activity zone. Look for mud tubes along your foundation, basement walls, or crawl space. Those pencil-thin brown tubes running up the concrete or wood are termite highways. That's your target. Take a small pry bar or flathead screwdriver and gently break open a section of mud tube. You'll confirm live activity if workers scatter. Don't spray spray anything. Don't disturb more than a small section. You want them moving, not retreating. Now apply boric acid powder in a thin, barely visible dusting along the full length of the mud tubes, at the base of the foundation where the tubes meet soil, and along any wood surfaces showing damage. A squeeze bottle or a cheap powder duster from any hardware store for about $5 gets it into crevices a hand can't reach. Then apply a thin band of diatomaceous earth around the exterior perimeter of your foundation, 2 to 3 inches wide, at ground level. This is your physical barrier. Any termite that hasn't been exposed to boric acid inside the colony will cross DE before reaching your structure. For carpenter ants follow scent trails. Find the trail and you find the entry point. Trails run along baseboards, windowsills, door frames, and countertops. Watch for sawdust-like frass near wood structures. That's carpenter ant excavation waste. Apply boric acid directly along the trail line in a fine dust. Apply DE at every entry point, door thresholds, window frames, pipe penetrations in walls, utility entry points. Here is the insider rule that separates this from every failed DIY attempt you've heard about. Do not apply heavy piles. This is the mistake that makes it fail every time. Insects will detect and avoid obvious powder deposits. They navigate around anything that looks unnatural in their environment. The application needs to be so thin it's barely visible to your eye. A ghost layer, light enough that they walk through it without changing course, heavy enough that it coats their body and legs on contact. Think dust, not powder. Think invisible, not obvious. Reapply outdoors after rain, indoors in dry wall voids and under floors. A single application keeps working for months without attention. The timeline is honest. Boric acid colony kill is not instant. Surface insects begin dying within 24 to 48 hours, but the colony elimination process, the chain reaction moving through the grooming and feeding network, takes 5 to 14 days for carpenter ants and 2 to 4 weeks for larger termite colonies. Not instant, but permanent. You are not treating symptoms. You are dismantling the colony's ability to function. You might be wondering, if this is food grade, is it actually strong enough and is it safe around your kids and pets? Let's answer both directly. The EPA has classified food-grade diatomaceous earth as generally recognized as safe. It is registered for use on food crops, in grain storage, and in livestock housing. Studies cited by Oregon State University's National Pesticide Information Center found no reproductive, developmental, or carcinogenic effects in animal studies at high doses. Your dog walking through a DE-treated baseboard is not a health event. It is, for any flea on that dog, a lethal one. Boric acid at the low concentrations used in household pest control has an oral toxicity rating in mammals that is roughly equivalent to table salt. The National Institutes of Health Toxicology data confirms that boric acid poses minimal risk to humans and pets at normal application levels. It is not a nerve agent, it does not accumulate in soil, it does not off-gas into your air. Now compare that to what the pest control industry applies. Standard termite barrier treatments use synthetic pyrethroids and fipronil. Fipronil, the active ingredient in Termidor, the most widely used professional termiticide in the United States, is classified by the EPA as a possible human carcinogen. It is acutely toxic to birds, aquatic invertebrates, and honeybees. A 2013 study published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology found fipronil and its degradation products in a significant percentage of urban waterway samples in treated neighborhoods. The product your pest control company applies to your foundation to protect your family is a possible carcinogen that contaminates local waterways. The product they didn't tell you about is used on organic farms and rated safe enough to add to livestock feed. That is not an accident. That is a business decision. Let's put the numbers on the table one final time. The pest control industry in the United States generates $16 billion annually. The average homeowner with a termite contract pays $500 to $2,000 for initial treatment and $300 to $700 per year for renewal inspections and reapplication. Over 10 years, that's potentially $5,000 to $9,000 per household. For a chemical barrier that washes out, degrades, and needs to be sold to you again next year. A 4-pound bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth, $4 to $8. A 1-pound container of boric acid powder, $3 to $5. A powder duster applicator, $5. Total investment under $20. Enough material to treat an average home 3 to 4 times over. A $4 bag that permanently dismantles a termite colony from the inside out is not a business model, it's a business ending. The annual retreat cycle is the product. The colony is never fully eliminated, the chemical degrades on schedule, and the technician returns. That's the system. And it depends entirely on you not knowing that 2 farm supply powders exploit colony biology more effectively and more permanently than anything in their spray tank. you now know. The next time a pest control company quotes you $1,500 for a termite barrier, you know what to buy first and where to buy it. If this saved you money, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to show this video to other people getting ripped off by a $16 billion subscription dressed up as pest control. And if you want the next household markup exposed with the same raw material science, the video on your screen right now shows you exactly that. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.